Alright. So, a couple of the main things that you need for Composer is composer.far, which is a far file is like a PHP self-contained archive, so you can have an entire application in one file and just run it completely from there. Composer uses Symfony's command component, which is or console command component, which is really nice for building out really sweet CLI tools. I use it a lot at work. I can show an example of that later, but let me show. To get Composer, we fail completely because of certain overzealous proxies. So hopefully we can actually reach out to what the main library, which is on packages.org, please. Good. So at least we'll be able to pull libraries down. You didn't steal my car. That's good. You just took it for a little spin.
You said it was under Macy's.
Yeah.
The under end.
Oh shit. I was thinking.
What's up? It's pretty cool. I know, right?
It's an awesome touch screen on that thing. Okay, so
I just wanted to get my PowerPoint out of there.
Sure you did. Sure you did. Okay, so fill the Twitter client. So what do we need for a Twitter client? We need a HTTP client, which a really popular one these days is called Guzzle. And Guzzle has a lot of really nice plugins for it, one of which is OAuth, which we need for actually connecting to Twitter's APIs and all that good stuff so we can actually tweet and get tweets and all sorts of Twitterings. So, I mean, you can search for just about anything on here, and there's libraries for almost anything you can think of. And if there's a library you can't find, build it and put it on there, please. Most of the stuff on here is hosted on GitHub. Composer makes it insanely easy to host your project on just about any version control system you want, as long as it has public access, and it'll pull down automatically the any version branches and stuff like that you have set up, and which I will show you in a second. So if we go to this library, you can see we have all sorts of versions for it. Most of the time, for development purposes, I'm just going to choose the latest and greatest, which by default on any Composer package is called dev-master. Now there's a naming convention for that, but I won't go into that. So I already pulled in Composer here. So that's all that's in this directory right now. I made the far file executable, so I can actually execute it right from here. And of course it gives you a nice help thing. So we want to initialize Composer. Let's call this azphp/tweeter. I don't know, sure. This is the first time I've actually run it like this, so I normally manually create my configuration file, which is, I'll show you in a second, it creates a JSON pretty easy to read type file. Let's see, guys. Can everyone see okay? Okay. Maybe. Sometimes Composer takes a while because Packagist is actually their server. I'm not sure if they have more than one server, but it's located in France. So the bits take a while to go there and back again. I think sometimes they stop in Spain. I'm going to cancel this and tell it not to do that. I didn't want to do that. Try again. No. No. Okay. So that's this is our basic composer.json file. Yes. So now we have this JSON file. So let's add guzzle to it. Now, another reason that Composer takes a while sometimes is because it goes insanely deep with checking dependencies. So if any, Guzzle is probably going to require some components from Symfony or a couple other frameworks. So it actually goes into those frameworks and checks dependencies on those, and so on and so on. So I'm going to do this again and turn on verbose so we can actually see what it's doing. Our bandwidth here is lost. But while that is going, another reason Composer works is because we have a standard called PSR-0, which defines a method for naming directory structures based off of namespaces for your, yeah, you already got that, for your classes and projects. That way, as long as you adhere to, the directory structures based off of your namespaces, we know exactly where to look for a class, which makes auto-loading crazy easy, instead of having to iterate through every directory in your project and search for a file. It's horribly inefficient and really slow. And that's how a lot of frameworks used to work. Another thing we can do with Composer is you can add an optimize option to when you're actually building it out. So when you install everything, you can add a -o, and it will create in the autoloader script an array of all of your classes and the files that it goes to. So there's, it doesn't even have to really check. It knows right where it's at. So you can see it's requiring also Symfony Event Dispatcher. And sometimes it'll just download packages directly if they're available from whatever library it is. But most of the time, it will actually use git clone and pull it directly off of GitHub. By using that, we could switch out the version number we have, and it'll just switch out the branch instead of having to re-pull that library down. So let's see, what else are we going to need? We're going to need an OAuth client, which I think Guzzle actually has. Yes, it does. So you can see in here, we now have a require section, which it's added the library and the branch or version that we requested. Guzzle requires PHP greater than 5.3, so they also added that on here. Is this the directory I was in? Let me just check. No, I was in underscore. Okay, though it hasn't actually finished that yet, but it's got it started here. And the next one I'm going to add just manually, so hopefully this will be finished. Failed to clone. Ah, really? Anyone remember how to do DHCP reset?
DS util dash.
What's that?
Like DS util. Oh, never mind. That's flushing DNS.
Actually, disregard that. I'll just do it from the Mac side. And of course it's going to have to do the scan, but it looks like it can actually reach stuff now. All right, so now we have a vendor directory, which is where Composer puts stuff by default. And in case you're curious, you'll see pretty much the same directory structure of whatever libraries you request. So we requested guzzle/guzzle, so you'll have vendor guzzle. And the source directory is where that gets put by default. Now, each library itself has a composer file. Which defines all of its requirements. So you can see on here, you can actually request different components of this by itself. And it does. It contains the OAuth thing already, so I don't need to worry about that. So let's start our Twitter client. Now, the first thing we do with a Composer project is load the autoloader, because that's going to let us just automatically, we won't have to require any library files or anything like that. Just as soon as we request a class or use it in any way, it's going to auto-load it. So why am I doing this? My second question is, why am I doing this there? It's much easier. And I don't remember any of the things yet, but just do a quick test here. And nothing blew up, so that's working. So the next thing we need when we're creating a Twitter client is an API key. And I don't see. There we go. Most of the stuff you don't have to really worry about. What's up? Oh, thank you. Firstborn child, blah, blah, blah. So there are two pieces we need, which is the consumer key actually, let me see if I can find an example of so just to make this easy, I'll just create a token for the account that I'm logged in here with, which is a AZPHP. Let's see what this gives us back. Client not found. Try that again. Oh. That must have been an old example. Easy fix. Hopefully. And that one's not it. So let's find the API we're supposed to use. Bam. So headers.
Wow, Guzzle gives you a lot of stuff back.
Yes, it does. Let's try and make this easier on ourselves. Seriously? Oh, duh. I always forget that I have to hit function to actually do F keys on this thing. Status code 200, body. Shush. Shush. So we now have a big old list of tweets, along with all the information that went with them, who made it, who it was to, from, blah, 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 what time it was made, profile image URLs. You get a whole lot of stuff from their API, which is pretty nice. So relatively quickly, whatever it was, 20 minutes, half an hour, minus all the issues that we had, we made a Twitter client to at least get tweets. Give it another 5-10 minutes, we could actually post something using this. But it's good enough demo, I think. So any questions on using Composer or how it works or anything like that? No? Everyone's asleep? Sorry. Where'd Elijah go? You done yet? Finish it on the fly.
We'll finish it with you, and it'll be.
That's right, exactly. It's interactive. It's an interactive presentation.
I've never used the HP stuff, so I'm curious.
Awesome.
Yeah, if you want to demo.
I
You can
have
say a
it.
few things that you've done about that.
Well,
What kind of like phones and stuff?
The phone icon up here links into Xdebug. So with PHP, there's an extension to PHP called Xdebug. If you have that installed, you can configure it to call back to your IDE. And most IDEs support Xdebug or Zen Debugger. Sometimes there can be issues when using it. Most of the time, if you do use it, you should use it with a local virtual machine. Don't have Xdebug set up on a production box on wherever you're hosting, unless it's behind a firewall or something like that. It's a pretty low bandwidth protocol unless you're doing profiling, which can take quite a while. If you're doing stuff like unit testing, quite a few different things like that. It's pretty nice. Like I said, you can set up breakpoints. Wish I would shut up. No, don't actually need that. So let's run this again, but this time I'm going to actually step into this code so you can actually see what's going on. And you can do that here. Step into, yeah. I'm sorry?
Did you have a presentation on this?
I did a couple of months ago.
Okay.
It's on, it's recorded, right? Part of it?
Part of it, yeah. Until it killed my machine. This new screencaster seems to be working really well, though. It's called ScreenFlow. It was like $30, so much better than QuickTime. So as you can see, all of the variables that are in the scope are available down here. You can actually drill in and get your configuration stuff, and you can tweak variables live, but you shouldn't. But like I said, it is a good way to see what's actually going on. If something's like blowing up halfway through your application, this is a good way to find out what it is. I'll just.
And like, yeah, Xdebug is that 16 big parameter in PHP.
I'm sorry.
Playing on Xdebug is that
It's just an extension. So most Linux distros have an Xdebug package. It's usually a like on Debian, it's PHP 5-xdebug. You just install that, and it installs the library. Alternately, if you have homebrewed or compiled PHP, PHP comes with a extension library manager called PECL, P-E-C-L, as opposed to PEAR, which is just PHP code libraries. PECL is for compiled extensions to PHP. You just do sudo or whatever, depending on what OS you're on. PECL install xdebug, and it'll download it from PECL's repo and compile it. And then all you have to do is add one INI file to wherever your PHP configuration files are, and it's ready to go. Let's see. Any other questions, xdebug wise? Let's step through the rest of this thing. Just so you know, on my machine, I have it on my VM that I have running at the same time. It's set up to always call back to the IDE whenever it hits certain points, so that's what you see popping up every once in a while. So you can actually see what types of variables, it'll tell you what class specific variables are, which makes it kind of nice to be able to instantiate them yourself if you need to, just to play around.
On the info where it says array 26, does that mean how many?
That's how many items are in this array, yeah. Guzzle gives you a lot of information. It's pretty nice. And it's super easy to use. Yep. Yep. PHP news. 5.5.1 just came out, which included some security releases. I wish I could use it, but there's not a stable package out for it yet. I've also been playing around a little bit at work with HipHop, which is Facebook's PHP JIT compiler VM thing, and it's pretty sweet.
They're releasing that?
What's that?
The way that
Yeah. You can actually get a Debian package for it. There are a few things that are still missing, but they're working on it. They've actually taken all of the unit tests that are on the PHP code and copied them over, so they're actually running through all of those and getting all those working. One of the really cool things is some of the extensions that they're building for HipHop, they're actually building using PHP. Because it compiles down so well, it's as fast as having a compiled extension. And I believe I've seen anywhere up to 7 to 10 times faster than the standard PHP interpreter. That's even with APC.
Really?
20 times.
20 times.
Then APC?
Oh, easy,
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
That is insane.
That's probably
Low
with.
memory usage too.
Any big gotchas? You've seen so far?
As Gordon said, they've got all the unit tests in there and they're sort of building it up to sort of make it better. But they run it live on 100% of their servers on PHP now. They've got 20 million lines of PHP code, so they've got pretty good coverage.
Yeah.
I think there's some really, really old things from 34 and 3 where they're not going to be for.
Oh, yeah.
The majority of stuff, yeah, they're looking to make it replacement.
What's the process that you compile stuff?
It's like Java and other ones or V8. It actually jigs the DXP code on the fly and then keeps it in shared memory, and then as other things use it, it's just used in the file boot. But it does have the ability to compile or generate an intermediate representation, so you can compile the DXP code and it can do more optimizations, like inlining more cross PHP file functions, so you get faster code. Things like getters and setters, those things are inline, so just like accessing the property directly. So there's a lot of pretty cool optimizations that it does. It's definitely useful.
It is a little bit different in Paradigm in that it's a server in itself, which they have introduced in PHP recently, but it's not meant to be used as a production server. It's meant to be used for development.
PHP what? Not the
Right.
It uses live events, it uses something similar to Nginx, so it's like
Can you still do HTX?
they have their own syntax, their own configuration syntax.
Right.
You know, it's got similar features, so like Nginx configuration is different as well, but they all have a similar feature set, so HipHop's the same, but they're on a different configuration.
Right.
It supports.
Really, as long as you can do index PHP,
Right.
They're good.
you're done.
Yep.
Yeah.
So PHP FPM will probably be, you'd have to do something else. Right.
Now, I assume it can't do static assets. You'd have to have some app logic in front of that.
Yeah, I think the idea is you would use some other front-end server and stuff. But there's nothing to say.
Right. And you can still run, standard CLI PHP stuff. You ready? Ready as you're gonna get? All right. You can just steal both of these if you want.